By the time I'm 14 years old, I kind of lost 3 families. I'm feeling a bit like a stray at that point. And things are not going well. I'm not a happy person.
Welcome to Entertain Me, hosted by Roberto Capodieci, where we bridge the worlds of new and old technologies, meet extraordinary individuals, revisit visions of the future, and celebrate the connections between technology and life. You're now listening to Life Tips.
Does not compute. Does not compute.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode here at Entertain Me. We are going to study beautiful brains and we have as a guest today Alan Lazaros. It's a very interesting name. What origin has your name, if I can ask? Just to get to know you only also in this aspect of things, Lazaros.
Yeah, I think I might be the only non-Greek person in the world with a last name of Lazarus. So that's my stepfather's last name. His name is Steve Lazarus. He's Greek. My birth father was John McCorkle. So my real birth last name is McCorkle, which is Irish.
And you look more like a McCorkle.
Yeah, don't I? Yeah. I'm the only hairless Lazarus, you know?
Fantastic. Okay, beautiful. We saw you is a beautiful thing because I think to a stepfather you always owes the beautiful gesture of loving you as a son, right? So bringing his family name, unless he's being a terrible person, which I don't know, I think, but is bringing his family name is a beautiful gesture.
Well, I think it's part of my story, but my stepfather and I didn't get along well. And I wasn't necessarily a huge fan either. Yeah, but
I see. So it's still in time to sing back. You have enough. Fantastic. Yeah, I did have that. I did. I saw your story. You had a terrible experience. Very, very little. You're 2 years old. You lost your father, your biological father, right? And then when you were older, you almost get in a similar situation. Your father had a car accident. I understand that you also got involved in a car accident. And sometime in life, we need very dramatic situation to shake us up and start reasoning about things in life, right? And I know stories of people that drop their job and start something completely different. Actually, usually things goes well in this direction because we give ourselves the permission to do something that we always wanted maybe and never put ourselves into, right? So yeah, tell us a little.
That's exactly what happened. So early on my childhood, one of the things that's really fascinating, first of all, thank you for having me. The fact that this podcast is about beautiful brains and you wanted to interview me, that means a lot to me. So I really appreciate that. I think that's an honor. It's an honor. Regarding, and I love the concept as well. Like, I think your brain and your mind is the most important thing. But early on, one of the interesting challenges that I have in my life now is I have this sort of nice backdrop and I dress nice and I look like someone who, obviously I'm American, so I look like someone who kind of started on third base, sort of silver spoon. And it wouldn't have been fun. I mean, that's not the case at all.
Right. So, it can be a misconception.
Yeah, perception versus reality. So the reality was very, very, very difficult childhood. Started from very humble beginnings. Birth father, to what you mentioned, birth father John McCorkle passed away in a car when he was 28. I had an older sister and a mom. She was a stay-at-home mom. I had a stepfather named Steve Lazarus who came into my life at age 3, and he was in my life until 14. And from 3 to 14, he did very well. He worked for a company called AGFA. They did hospital computers during the dot-com bubble in Massachusetts and in, the U.S. And the U.S. obviously is the largest economy in the world, particularly in tech. And so we did very well financially. From the outside in, everything looked really good. From the inside out, my mom and stepdad did not get along, and that's a polite way to put it. And my stepfather left at 14, took his entire extended family with him. To this day, I've never seen or spoken to a single one of them. I have talked to my stepfather a little bit on Facebook Messenger, a little bit, in my 20s and then my 30s. Same year, I'm 14 years old, and this is only in hindsight, I didn't understand. Sister moves out. I go from sort of boats and ski trips to now I get free lunch at school because our income is so low. And I go from I hope I get into college, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's a engineering school, kind of like a mini MIT in Massachusetts, in New England. And it's $50,000 a year, and this is back then. So I go from I hope I get it. That's what I'm saying, US. So I go from I hope I get in to even if I do get in, I can't go because we don't have the money. And so that same year, 14, stepfather leaves, takes his entire extended family with him. Mom gets in a fight with my Aunt Sandy, her sister, and we get ostracized from her side of the family. And we don't really associate much with the McCorkles anymore because we were trying to be sort of the Lazaroses, right? By the time I'm 14 years old, I kind of lost 3 families. I'm feeling a bit like a stray at that point. And things are not going well. I'm not a happy person. And people would come to me and they'd say, these are the best years of your life. And I would say, God, I hope not. But, because in their mind, you're 14, you have the whole world ahead of you. No.
You have no worries.
Terrible. So, and also I look young. Imagine me in high school, right?
Sorry.
Prepubescent, just struggle bus. So I bootstrapped. So I had 2 trauma responses. One was fawn. I became this sort of social chameleon coward, just don't lose anyone else. But the other side of that coin was fight, which was just aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. Aim higher, work harder, get smarter. I got all these awards behind me. I got straight A's through all of high school, 16 report cards straight, 4 years straight, all A's. And I got the Academic Excellence President's Award. It's signed by George W. Bush behind me. And I got into WPI. And I got a bunch of scholarships and financial aid. Got my computer engineering bachelor's, got my master's in business. And I was used to being a broke high school and college student. So after that, it was like, whoa. So 2012, 2013, bachelor's in 2012, master's in 2013. And then 2013, 2014, 2015, I just Lens Americas, iRobot, Sensata Technologies, Oz Development, company called Cognex, just all these tech companies. 65 a year to 85, 85 to 105, 105 to 125, and then I peaked at 180 in my early 20s. Paid off 84 grand worth of college debt in a single year. Had $150,000 in a Vanguard account. So I basically became a 1% earner in my early 20s. And I had a bunch of money in the stock market that did very well because I picked tech companies that I knew would win. And the economy's coming back after 08. And I'm in Massachusetts, right? So I'm doing very well. And then I get in my car accident. And that's what you mentioned. So that was 10 years ago. I'm 36 now. I'm hoping to hit puberty at 37. But for those of you not on camera, I look extremely young. Ultimately, 26 years old, I get in a car accident. My fault. First head-on collision. Not a fender bender, definitely a bad accident. Fortunately, everyone, no physical permanent damage, and no one died. But it was definitely a hefty accident. And my dad died in a car when he was 28. John McCorkle died in a car, my birth father, when he was 28. And so for me, this was the second chance my dad never got. And so that was when I found personal development. That was when I found personal growth. That was when I found self-improvement. That was when I just decided, I'm going to go all in on my own potential. And so now yeah, go ahead.
That's what I was thinking, the event at age 14 pushed you to sort of prove to the rest of the world something. And this event changed the direction of the proof to yourself rather than to the rest of the world, right?
100%. That's well said. I think that I was trying to prove myself worthy. Because when you get that much abandonment at 14, you don't understand, at least not consciously, why wasn't I good enough or whatever? Why wasn't I lovable? And then you prove yourself, I'll show you. You become really successful. I mean, I was more successful than anyone I knew, except for obviously my bosses and my boss's bosses. And my dream was to be a Fortune 500 CEO like my hero, Steve Jobs. I used to argue, I built my first computer at 12. I used to argue with my friend who was smarter, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. I have a Steve Jobs quote behind me. So I'm sort of this esoteric nerd who doesn't look like a nerd. And it's just been an interesting journey. But at 26, I realized, okay, I already achieved what most people think is success. I had a gorgeous girlfriend. I had $150,000 in a Vanguard account. I bought all stocks that were succeeding. I paid off all my college debt. I was debt free. And I just didn't need much because I was so broke through college and high school. So I could just invest all my money. So I was very much on my way to wealth. I had huge customers like GE and Frito-Lay and all that kind of stuff. I sold industrial automation equipment. Machine vision equipment is what it's called. It's cameras that do quality assurance on manufacturing lines. And I just realized that, okay, I'm really good at this success thing, but I'm not really good at the inner stuff. And I think in mathematics, and I think in long-term strategic thinking, and I'm a tech guy, and all that stuff has always come easy. I always get straight A's in all my math classes. And a math modality of thinking is actually very rare, and that's why no one likes us. Because we think in numbers, and we're very Spock-like, and a lot of people are emotional, right? So they don't understand why people are uncomfortable around us because we're calculating everything. And when you're in high school and a girl says, do I look fat in this? And you say yes at level 6 out of 10, that doesn't really go well. But yeah, so that's my story. And ultimately, now I help people reach their potential. And I have it written to reach my own unique is underlined, potential, and help others do the same. Everything else is secondary. And so for 10 years, I've been focused on that with Next Level University and the podcast. And we have an 18-person team now. We're heard in 175 countries. We have 2,090 episodes. So I'm honored to be here. I appreciate it. And whatever I can do to help.
It is interesting. I like to look at you as a person more than what you do, right? And I think how sometimes and why some people don't do this shit, right? So I have a history. My past is not so different in certain terms. I am the fourth of 4 siblings, but my brother and 2 sisters are 18 years older than me. So pretty much they left, and I remain alone with my mother and father that weren't getting along. They were sleeping in different rooms at different times. So I've been through not the same thing, but the similar kind of situation. And I noticed in several other people that sometimes those things create a push, create a motivation in doing things. So much that I'm thinking if I should abandon my own kids in order to give them a chance to be successful in life. Meaning that
dangerous game.
I obviously cannot do that, but... it is sometimes a situation in life that brings somebody to a certain aspect. And the most common is the first phase that you have, for what I noticed, more the push to prove to the rest of the world, the push to do something that as a reflection help your own self. But it's not an
exactly.
work, it's an external work. But if you do this second step to actually start analyzing themselves inside. For example, I'm 50 years old and I had a moment of success, very similar to you, like a lot of wealth, a lot of things. So much that when I had the Middle East crisis, I said I'm going to organize it very well. As a geek, I planned it. So I could do anything in the proper way. But I never meditated because it is scaring away, and in another angle is something that will say what will come out of it, You never explore unknown areas that are risky in these terms, So there are some activities of working on yourself. The most people that had the first initial path of a response of success by doing things for the world outside you, giving it this borderline, there is our own person, right? I see the effect, people appreciate the effect, I feel, okay, my family is okay and all. And I ignore the rest of the aspect, what if tomorrow, I give you a strange example. I live in Bali. Bali is a tropical island in Indonesia, okay? And is a destination after California for all this new age kind of movement of people. So there are huge quantity of yoga studios, right? And there is, due to the economic crisis in Europe, a lot of people that move toward Asia. So they go to Thailand, And I notice happy married couple, like 10 years, 20 years married, they move here. Where the wives start going into yoga studios, 90% end up in a divorce. And I wonder if was a divorce to come already, but she never had the time to analyze the fact that she doesn't want it, So this is a way to free themselves from the trap that they put themselves in, even though end up in a little bit in a situation there is no present. Or the opposite. But you see, it's a big thing. I start working on myself. I realize how much I didn't give myself, how little I permitted myself to, how much little care I took of myself. And as a consequence, I destroy everything that I built when I was in the other situation, right? So that's my big question that I had. For sure, it's beautiful and important to say, stop. let me think about myself for a second. Why I'm doing this thing that damage me? Why I'm working over hour and I'm burning out myself? Why I'm doing a lot of things even if I have a good result? And if I answer myself, I should stop doing that because I should do something else that is good. Maybe I come out good on one side, but I create a lot of damage. That's why I'm saying it's scary to see the consequences they will have. So this is an interesting, I think, point to understand if there is a balanced way to start doing this thing or is a sales battle anyway.
Well, people have been asking me that for 10 years. They've been asking me, well, I don't want to get in a car accident to have a transformation like you. And I said, well, you don't have to. But you do have to. The car accident was a wake-up call. But you can manufacture your own wake-up call. But you have to become what's known as an existentialist. An existentialist is someone who takes full responsibility for their life. And they get off autopilot. The car accident took me off any autopilot I was on. So to your point, I think 14, so born, birth father passes away, 14, stepfather leaves, identity crisis. The identity crisis created two responses. One was become a social chameleon and sort of, my fear was being abandoned. Because I dealt with so much abandonment with my mom's family, my stepdad's family, and my birth father. When we were trying to be the Lazaroses, we didn't associate with the McCorkles anymore. So it was like I lost kind of 3 families by the time I was 14. Whatever creates massive trauma and pain for you, you usually run in the other direction. You usually overcorrect. So I overcorrected to try to hang on to as many friends and family as I could. And I remember there was a time in my early 20s when I thought, how am I going to do? Because when you're in your 20s, all your friends and family, your friends in particular, they kind of get married. And I remember thinking, how am I going to do all these wedding parties? I'm going to be in the groomsmen party, not necessarily the groomsmen, but in like 11 weddings. And now I'm not going to be in probably any because, to be completely transparent here, I kind of let go of a lot of my past in order to get to the next level in my life. And after 14, I was hanging on to all my friends. And then after 26, I stopped that because I woke up and realized that I'm everything for everyone and nothing for myself. And I used to bring my high school friends to party at college. I used to bring my college friends into corporate. There was a referral program at Cognex, the company I worked for. And I brought like 5 people into the company. And I got these big referral bonuses. It was a whole thing. And at the end of the day, I realized in hindsight, we're all playing not to lose, but we're not all playing not to lose the same thing. So I was playing not to lose people, not to lose relationships, not to lose friends and family, because I dealt with so much loss when I was younger. And then what I realized is that's actually holding me back because I'm not being authentic to who I am. So when I found personal development and I went inward to physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual development, I started to realize I've been playing on autopilot, trying really hard to be an achiever who has lots of friends and lots of fun. That was my paradigm. That was my belief about what I thought life was about. And my paradigm shifted after that car accident, because I realized there's a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and I actually have all these tattered flashcards that I used to carry around in my pocket. And one of them is by a woman named Bronnie Ware. I interviewed her. I actually got to interview her, which was really cool. But she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And she worked in hospice for 8 years with terminally ill patients. And she thought her job was to take care of them, but her calling was to listen and hear all their regrets. And all she heard was, I wish, I wish, I wish. There's a TED Talk about it too. And one of the regrets is, I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. So many of us are living a life based on what other people expect of us, particularly our families and our friends and our reference group. And so I realized
is what we think that they expect of us, because we will never know what it is.
Yeah, it's what we believe they expect of us, what we believe. And what we think is what we believe. And so ultimately, I believed life was about achievement. So I naturally achieved a lot. Friends. I had tons of friends. Friends of friends and friends and friends of friends. And I mean, partied hard. And then lots of fun. We had a fucking blast, pardon my French. And I joke and I say I partied enough for 12 lifetimes. But after 26, I realized this is not good for me. I'm drinking too much and too often. I was 160 pounds, skinny fat, and I wasn't fulfilled. I was a shell of my true potential. And so after that, I went all in on personal development, self-improvement, personal growth, and mental health. I got a therapist. I had dozens of coaches, and I just 10 years, that's been 10 years now of making good choices, better choices, not all good. Now that's what I do for a living, is I just help people reach their potential in life and in business.
How does it change the perspective on the world when you do this sort of transformation, if you want it, this sort of a change of, lenses? How you see it?
One thing that's really, and that is such a good question. It makes you realize you don't realize how unfulfilled everyone is until you're really fulfilled. So I believe, and again, I'm not just talking, I crossed my 10,000 hours of coaching, training, and podcasting recently. And I track everything. I have metrics for everything. And I'm an engineer and I love numbers. And so people all over the world, all different cultures, all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, male and female, all different countries, all over the world. My team, my clients, I coach 21 people right now. And what you learn is, you learn so much. What you learn is that everyone has similar challenges. First of all, everyone wants the same thing. They want to be healthy, wealthy, and in love. That's it. It's that simple. Everyone wants to be healthy, wealthy, and in love. Here's the problem. All three of those are full-time jobs. And if you're 1%, top 1% in health, top 1% in wealth, and top 1% in love, that's 1 in a million. 1 over 100 times 1 over 100 times 1 over 100. That's 1 in a million. So if you want to be healthy, wealthy, and in love, you are statistically 1 in a million. And that's one thing you learn when you take this transformational journey and you go all in on personal development, is you realize how few other people do. Like, the majority of people don't care about reaching their potential. It's so unfortunate, and I didn't either until after 26. So I get it, but it's really alarming when you become fulfilled because you realize how few people actually really aren't. So then they're pretending they are.
Tell me, what is a full potential? Because probably I don't understand the meaning of this full potential.
The healthiest, wealthiest, and most in love version of yourself. It's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual development. Being in the best shape that you can be in. Being physically fit. That's one. Mentally, being mentally sharp. Cognitive function. IQ. Then there's EQ, emotional intelligence, relationships. And then there's spiritual, whatever that means for you, but your alignment with your highest self. I think our highest self is always talking to us. Yeah.
Now,
good.
You think that there is a limit that we should stop in achieving, because going higher to the limit, it creates too much distance from others, and you start creating an incapacity of a relation in relating to others that can cause more problem at the end of the day, unless I start belonging to the small clubs of the people of my level, if you want,
I think that's the risk that you take by trying to reach your potential, is you're climbing a mountain that not everyone wants to climb with you. And if you try to drag people up the mountain, they'll get upset with you. And I did that for a time for sure. But I do think that it's what I've found is the most fulfilled people are always in alignment with their potential. I think that all of us will.
Does it create solitude in a certain terms? Like, for example, I was a very intelligent kid when I was very little in school. My IQ was really calculated by tests, Mensa test, way above the normal. Then she always make me feel that everybody is an idiot, if you want, that I need to, if I want to stay with them, I need to lower myself to that level. For example, if I want to speak and be understood by everybody, I cannot use business words or language that is complex because nobody will be able to understand me. That's why those lingo of certain profession become a sort of a secret code between people of the profession. But when you need to talk to the rest of the world, you need to lower your standards, right? And so I wonder if bringing myself to a level where I am so clean inside, if you want to put it into simple words, okay, would create, if I climb the mountain, your example that you were saying before, even if I don't drag my people, my friends with me up there, but will I be so high in the mountain that when I talk to them, they cannot hear me anymore,
Well, this is the interesting thing about consciousness is, and this is what I've found, is the more and more physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually developed you become, it is a little bit lonely because less people statistically are doing this work. But you can easily talk. So I can talk at a level that everyone can understand, but I also can talk at a level that very few people can understand. So I could have a conversation with an Aristotle, or I could have a conversation with an average person. An average person. But just because I can speak at a lower level doesn't mean I have to go down to a lower level. as a person. So I can show up. So for example, I do fitness. We have a fitness group with 38 people in it. We're doing a 10-pound and 10-week challenge. For me, 10 pounds in 10 weeks, I've been fitness coaching, fitness modeling, fitness competitions and all that. For me, that's not challenging, but for them, it's really challenging. And that's okay. I don't have to I can lead them by going into battle first. I don't have to dumb myself down. They can level up. I have to communicate in terms they understand, but I can inspire, motivate. I can
to become a leader in order to sustain this sort. So you say, I do work on myself. I am in a fitness. I work in IT. I know people in IT. I share my days working with them like this. Okay. I start a work on myself that's gonna bring me to a different level, if you want, of understanding internal cleanness, if you want, and potentials. I need to do double work at this point in order to maintain and keep or be able to tolerate a certain kind of behavior, unless I try to bring them with me in a certain way. Because I notice, the story of the club, the wives club, right? All the wives talk bad about their husband, and there is the little new wife that she's actually in love, everything is okay. So she's immediately kicked out of the club because she doesn't participate in the bad talking about the husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
if
I bring myself to a point where I understand better certain things, because it become my lifestyle, because it become the way that I want to be. So
you're going to lose people when you
right.
That's
the point.
But some people will. This is what I've found is that the higher my standards are for myself, the more intimidating I become. However, the more inspiring I am to certain people.
That's without doubt.
There's one of two reactions, right? There's the magnet. So you either repel or attract. So at Next Level University, Kevin and I, the more our standards have increased, the more we attract certain people and the more we repel others. And that's okay. That's what a leader, that's the price that a leader has to pay. I know that I'm not a very likable person. And most people liked me a lot more back when I was, drinking and partying and that kind of stuff. I was actually naive enough after my car accident. I thought, okay, when I become a better man, people will like me more. That is atrociously not true.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this guy is a little bit the point where I wanted to get to, because this seems a truth. I didn't never discuss this sort of thing with anybody that can give me an honest feedback, right? And I wanted to send this.
Yeah, it's lonely. But it's better than the alternative. I'm way more fulfilled now. I'm less liked, but I inspire. Some people like me a lot more. Some people like me a lot less. And that's okay.
It changed kind of.
But one thing, what I found, and this is something I hope everyone really hears, because it takes so much courage. Because what I found is when I was the most likable by others, I didn't like myself.
Yeah.
When I was partying and I was drinking and I was a lot of fun, I didn't like myself deep down. No one else knew that, but I didn't like myself. Yeah.
I empathize with this. Yeah. You become an instrument, no more a person. You are more like the tool that you use for yourself in order to make everything okay, right? Rather than.
I hosted the parties. We had a party house. We lived on a lake. We had a bonfire. We had a lot of fun. But I ended up becoming this sort of person who was more about fun. And that was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of friends, and I had a lot of friends of friends, and I had a lot of acquaintances, and I had a lot of colleagues. But now I realize my circle is much smaller, but my influence is much greater. And so now I think focusing on self-respect first, because this is the other thing too no one talked about. You have to choose. You can be liked and respected, but you can't prioritize both. I used to want to be liked because I was so afraid of abandonment. So I would optimize unconsciously for being liked. And I don't do that anymore. That was the chameleon. I would appease and I would fawn and I would try to fit in. And after 26, I realized the errors of my ways, and I said, okay, I'm not going to try to fit in anymore, because I'm becoming this sort of wandering generality, and I'm losing myself because I'm everything for other people and nothing for myself. And so I eventually became a meaningful specific, which is someone who knows exactly who he is, exactly why he's on this planet, and exactly what he's here to accomplish. And that's someone who's a much bigger. There's this study that we did, and it was about intimidation. And at Next Level University, I was trying to figure out why everyone liked Kevin more than me. Because we would go give speeches together, and everyone would love him and hate me. And I didn't understand because I thought my speech was better. And it wasn't. Well, it was intellectually, but the 3 engineers in the room liked me more. Right? So,
okay.
But Kevin's a very relatable, likable, funny guy. And I realized I'm jealous of Kevin. He's so likable and relatable, and I'm not. This is like, I haven't missed a workout in 1,189 days as of today. Like, that's not relatable, and that's not likable. That's very Spock-like, and it's very rare. And I used to dim my light and pretend that didn't exist because I wanted to create belonging. And now I realize that I was actually more afraid of success than I was of failure. I was afraid to shine. I was afraid to stand out because the person who stands out gets chopped down. The tree that's the tallest gets chopped down the most. And I was too much of a coward to shine. And now I realize the errors of my ways because when I was the most liked by others, I didn't like who I was. And I was optimizing for being liked more than being respected. I know that I'm not a likable person, but I am someone who I think has a lot of respect. Because I'm virtuous, I try to make good choices, I definitely take responsibility, and I feel like I've become the type of person who is a contributing member of society. And I think a lot of people respect me, but they don't necessarily like me.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be being like this, no, something that is imposed by law. Each of us has his own personality, and we never have the real vision of what is about. It's very hard to be objective on yourself when you are not somebody else. It goes by listening to your own voice from a recording. You will never recognize your own voice. This to be the idea that we are now objective. So what I get from autism, we are slowly coming toward the end of this beautiful conversation, is that a big trauma can be the kick in the butt, if you want, that we need to, get a grip on situation, realize like a wake-up call and change, put everything on the plate to understand what we can do better. Or many people, unfortunately, goes in the other direction. So I think there must be a minimum base for the personality trait. That is the person that want to do better as a base, not destroy themselves completely, because many people come out of trauma and they do drugs, alcohol, and
I did.
No, but I mean, in a destructive way. No, I mean, alcohol for partying is one thing. I mean, alcohol for waking up.
No, but the truth is I did some destructive behavior too. I did, and no one is fully virtuous or fully vice. Everyone's both a warning and an example. And adversity and trauma, to your point, it's what you do after. And it's based on self-belief. What I've figured out in psychology, they call it self-efficacy. The higher your self-efficacy unconsciously and subconsciously, the more likely you overcome adversity and rise above it. The more likely you construct something from the adversity rather than escape into drugs or alcohol or pornography or whatever it is. And so self-belief is what makes the difference. It's known as self-efficacy in the psychology. And if you have high self-efficacy, you will take adversity and use it to your advantage. But if you don't, you'll escape. You'll escape because you don't believe in your ability to transform.
Right. So you don't see a possibility in the direction, right? Exactly. I have a very strong trust that I can be successful whatever I do. Yep. It is a pretentious, but it is what I believe. To the point that you say, okay, drop me naked in an island and I'm gonna be able to do. And given this means that I follow in a certain daily routine, in a daily loop for which sometimes it lasts years. And you need a shake to come out of that and rediscuss things, And a dramatic shake that push you the needle is tomorrow. Tips come in, steal everything, I have nothing, I need to rebuild. I don't know, just that's the push that we get. And probably, I wonder if self-inducing sort of things like that. I had friend that left work and everything and moved to another country, but without any particular reason, it's not that somebody died or whatever, like they just said enough. And they go and they start doing something that goes well, or other people do something that doesn't go well. It depends on the things. But the trigger to rediscuss everything and bring to a better level things probably is a necessity of a very dramatic change in life, I guess.
Yeah, thank you for this conversation. At the end of the day, whatever that next level is, and this is an infinite game. It's a mountain that gets higher as you climb it. No, I'm 36. I'm not done. I'm not at the top of any mountain, right? So, but I am better than I used to be. I'm smarter than I used to be. I'm stronger than I used to be. I'm more intelligent than I used to be. And so to me, it's not what you achieve, it's what you have to become to achieve it. And I know that sounds really fortune cookie, but the truth is, like, whatever that next level is for you, anyone out there watching or listening, you have to sacrifice the current level in order to get to it. It doesn't mean you have to give up everything. You can bring some people, places, things, and ideas with you, and you should, but you're going to have to let go of something. Let go of your trauma, let go of your past, let go of that toxic friend, right? That kind of thing. So thank you so much, Roberto.
That's enough. Everybody, if you want, give a call to Alan. He's going to be happy to talk to you then. Thank you very much, Alan. Bye then.
You've been listening to Entertain Me, hosted by Roberto Capodieci. If you're not subscribed, you better smash that subscribe button now, or else your Wi-Fi will start making dial-up noises.